Okay, let's just get right into it. What if you could launch a totally new app and pull in six figures on the very first day? Sounds kind of crazy, right? Well, today we're tearing down the exact playbook one founder used to make that happen. And let me tell you, this isn't about getting lucky. It's a real, repeatable strategy for turning your idea into a massive launch. $120,000. Seriously, just let that number sink in for a second. We're not talking about some big corporation's yearly profits here. This is what a brand new, totally bootstrapped mobile app made on day one. And yeah, to be super clear, this wasn't money that slowly trickled in over a month or a year. Nope, this was a huge cash injection that happened in the first 24 hours after the app went live. Unreal. So the big question is, how on earth is that even possible? Especially for a new app with zero track record. Well, the answer isn't luck or some magic formula. It's a really smart, calculated playbook that's all about turning people's interest into cold, hard cash on day one. All right, so let me introduce you to Ombberto. He's the founder of an app called Floa, which is made specifically for yoga teachers. And here's the crazy part. Ombberto had absolutely no experience launching mobile apps before this. Zero. His secret weapon? A powerful and honestly often misunderstood strategy, the lifetime deal. You might have heard it called an LTD. Okay, so the real engine behind this whole launch, it wasn't some huge ad budget. It was all driven by a super carefully crafted, month-long email sequence. Think of it like a slow burn. The entire goal was to build up so much curiosity and anticipation that by the time launch day finally hit, people weren't deciding if they should buy, they were just waiting for the link. And honestly, the whole process was a total masterclass in psychology. Here's how it worked. First, he used storytelling to get people interested, but he never actually showed the product. Then, and this is clever, he intentionally created a little bit of confusion just to make people even more curious. Third, bam, the big reveal, a full video walkthrough of the app. It was only then, right at the very end, after he'd built up all this value, that he dropped the limited time, limited quantity offer to get people to act immediately. And this right here, this is the golden rule that made the whole thing tick. By hiding the price until the very last second, Ombberto forced people to judge the app on what it could do for them, on its vision. It gets people emotionally invested in the solution itself, instead of just doing the math on the price tag. Super smart. All right, so we've talked about the emails, but what was the full game plan? Let's get into the nitty-gritty. Here is the exact 5-step playbook he used, and yeah, this is something you can totally copy for your own launch. The most important thing to get is that all of this happens before anyone in the public sees a thing. So step 1, you've got to validate the problem first. Use what's called the mom test. Basically, talk to potential customers without even pitching your idea. Step 2, figure out the absolute smallest version of your product that people would actually pay for. Step 3, get your content machine ready. I'm talking all your emails, graphics, videos, everything before you start promoting. Step 4, be strategic about your pricing. Don't just pull a number out of thin air. And finally, step 5, master the launch mechanics. Be transparent, have a firm no refunds policy, and use real scarcity. Limited time and limited spots. Now, let's talk about the pricing, because this was just a strategic masterpiece. He didn't just pick one price. He created 3 different tiers. And the psychology here is just brilliant. The 2 lower tiers basically act as anchors. They make that top tier, the full vision option at $349, seem like a total no-brainer. It feels like the best deal. Plus, it gives people who are a little more skeptical a cheaper way to get in the door. Okay, so we got to talk about lifetime deals because they're controversial. A lot of investors will tell you they're a terrible idea, that you're just giving away future monthly revenue. But from the perspective of a bootstrapped founders, Ombberto argues it's actually the smartest move you can possibly make. And the whole difference really boils down to just one word: commitment. See, a monthly subscriber, they have options. If they run into a bug or get annoyed, they just cancel. Poof, they're gone. But a lifetime buyer, they are invested. They're on your team. They want you to succeed. So they're the ones who will report bugs, give you incredibly detailed feedback, and pretty much become your first ever superfans. And this shift in thinking is everything. A lifetime deal isn't just a sales tactic. Think of it as a way to raise money from your customers. You get a big chunk of cash to build and grow your product, and you get an army of committed users, all without giving up any equity, any control, or any board seats. It's genius. All right, let's bring it all home. We covered a lot, so here's a super quick, high-density recap of all the key numbers and principles from this playbook. So here's what you need to remember. We're talking 120 grand in 24 hours. The offer? A lifetime deal. How'd he sell it? With a 4-part email sequence. The whole thing was built on a 5-step playbook. The pricing had 3 strategic tiers to guide people to the best value. And the core idea behind it all? Customer commitment is way more valuable than customer optionality. But beyond all the tactics and the numbers, the single biggest lesson from this whole story is really about a shift in your mindset. Look, trying to be perfect is usually just fear pretending to be preparation. You don't learn the important stuff when you're building alone in a cave. The real breakthrough, the real learning, happens the second that real people get their hands on your imperfect, unfinished thing. So just ship it sooner. Trust me, you learn way faster in public than you ever will in private. Okay, so let's make this real for you. I want you to turn this from just an idea into an actual plan. If you were going to use this playbook for your own project, starting tomorrow, what is the very first thing you would do? Are you going to go out and validate the problem? Or maybe start sketching out that 4-part email sequence? Or are you focused on defining that minimum launchable product? Seriously, think about it for a second and then drop your plan in the comments. I'm going to be reading through every one of them and I'll jump in to help you sidestep some of the common pitfalls. I'm really excited to see what you all are working on.